Why? It's not a 4-letter word. It's a 3-letter word, but I hear it from Christians all the time and others. Why, Pastor Dan? Friend of mine called me, 70 years old, fighting cancer, big liver cancer. He said, other people pray, Pastor Dan, they get better. I pray, all my friends are praying, but I'm going to die. Why? I visited a young man, he's about 38. That morning he'd been driving a FedEx truck, he was fine, he had an accident, and now he's lying there in a coma, completely out, maybe will never wake up again. His mother, beautiful white-haired woman, standing right there by his bedside, Christian woman from Michigan. She said, I'm just trying to accept whatever God's will is. Why? What? I said, do you really think it's God's will for a young man to wake up in the morning and crash his FedEx truck and be in a coma and maybe die and leave a wife and a daughter behind? That would be God's will? One of my neighbors down the street taught in our Christian school for 28 years, fell on a crack on a sidewalk, hit her head, never got over it, finally had to quit and retire early, and eventually died. But I was at the house and kind of in the kitchen, and she's washing dishes, and she says, I don't think I was that bad, Pastor Dan. So she was assuming that God had allowed this for some reason as punishment for something she had done. Why would God do that? Another church member was coming home from a wedding, 11 o'clock at night, right down the street from where we live, and got T-boned by a car that ran a red light. Everything she had was broken. I mean, she was just thrashed. And she's in tears. She's in so much pain. And she says, I'm just trying to understand what message God is trying to tell me. I've heard it all for 50 years as a pastor. I could tell you hundreds more stories like that. Whatever happens, people assume that God had a hand in it. If God didn't actually do it, then God chose to allow it because He has the power to stop it. And He didn't stop it, so He must have had a good reason for allowing it. Maybe we'll never understand it down here, a group told me the other night. Maybe we'll understand it later. People say, maybe He wanted to make me stronger. I had one 18-year-old girl wanted to tattoo that on her neck. Something to the effect that God only allows His strongest challenges to come to the people who are the strongest people, who can handle it. As if God sort of weighs your capacity to cope with whatever suffering He's going to allow to come your way. I said, be careful. What if you don't believe that 10 years from now, but you're still stuck with the tattoo? She says, you don't believe that, Pastor Dan? I said, no, I don't. I don't think God sits up in heaven and makes conscious, thought-through, reasoned decisions about who to cause suffering. Number one, God says He is love, always. Number two, He says, thieves steal and destroy and take life. I only give life. How can it be His will then to have someone be in a coma from a FedEx truck? And number three, He looked at those weeds in the field and pointed right to Satan and said, an enemy has done this. It's not him, not his father. Rob Bell, the famous Christian writer and preacher, says, what if you're in a jewelry store? You're buying a wedding ring or buying a watch. And all of a sudden, the guy breaks in with the gun and the ski mask and makes you all lie down on the floor. He takes all the jewelry, puts it in a bag, runs out the door, and gets hit by a garbage truck and dies. And what is your first thought? Maybe serves him right. He had that coming to him. Without really thinking it all through, we assume that God saw what had happened in the jewelry store, and God got a little bit upset, sends the garbage truck at exactly the right time, and justice happens. The man gets what he has coming. We just assume that God has his hand in all these things. What about all the other times when there was no garbage truck and they got away with it? What about the times when the garbage truck hit somebody who didn't do anything bad? They just got hit. But in the Bible, people just sort of assume that people did bad and something bad happened. It must have been God. But it doesn't say it. We don't really know if the garbage truck is an accident or from God or what. It doesn't say. We need to be very, very careful about assuming that every time some people had something happen, it was God. My friends, it's either all or nothing. It's either God is not the one pulling all the strings, adding up all the pros and cons, and deciding whatever happens, or He is in the middle of all of it. We can't just pick and choose the examples. If you want to say that God is in the one doing it and allowing it, then do you want to say that God was in the 1,200 people that were killed when the Hamas went into Israel in October 2 years ago? Then how about the 54,000 that have been killed in Gaza? It's got to be all of it. What about the 5 million people that were starved in Ukraine in the 30s? Or the 250,000 in Thailand, Indonesia, and India that got killed in the terrible tsunami? And every cancer, every diabetic, every child abuse, every sex abuse, all of it. Once you open that door, you have God sitting up in heaven with His calculator, adding up the arguments for saving somebody and the arguments for not saving them, and making the call and making a choice. Are you comfortable with that? And God sits up in heaven every day and makes up a list for the angels to go out and sacrifice all those people. Every day. I can't do it. Why would God do that with my father? Our family is getting together tomorrow. My mother will be here. She's a widow. God sat up in heaven and decided 22 years ago that was a good day, and that of all the 8 billion people, my father should be the one. If we believe all that, how can we honestly say that God is good all the time, that God only gives life? Because we believe that someday we're all going to sit down and go over the whole story. And we're all going to say together, God was exactly right every single time. Every single thing He ever did was the most loving thing to do. It was exactly the right thing to do at the time, if we knew the whole picture in the end from the beginning. God is good all the time. Someday we're going to all agree with that. What about today? God bless you. Hope you'll check back with us next time. So we'd love it if you enjoy what we have made, if you can like it and forward it on to other people, and we'll build the ministry on social media, Grace Force YouTube. God bless.